part 2 of what if Nigeria tried to make an empire. If you haven't watched part 1, then you should watch it, and there should be a link to it up here in the top right corner. And please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Right, let's get into this. So, as you remember last time, Nigeria and Mauritania were having a bit of a land swap, but things went sour. As both sides have kind of reclaimed what they had, they started a war, and they had acquired these different allies in the region to come and support them. Like with Mauritania having the likes of Egypt and Morocco, and Nigeria having the likes of Algeria and the EAC. It's caused for a regional bloodbath. Right. So remember, it started off down in this region here in Nigeria. So with them, they use the military, and they first of all they don't just stop at where they were supposed to stop, or not they were going to stop at, but the military generals actually say, how about we push them back as well, and we don't try to stop this diplomatically, but we continue, and we and because they think that with them, the EAC, in Algeria, they think that they could beat the rest of these countries. Because if you remember in last video, the EAC is quite easily number 1. Then number 2, I would probably give it to Egypt. Yeah, Egypt. And then number 3, Morocco. I'll do it in this so you can see better. Number 3, Morocco. Number 4 beat this Ethiopia. And on roughly the same level to them, I would put Nigeria as well. Number 5, I would put these guys on the same level as Algeria. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1, 2, 3. But then again, you could say the EAC are just so much substantially better. But then remember, they have 2 and 3 as well. So things are there. They look like they could go either way at any moment. So, but Nigeria does have very good faith that they could win the war. Not easily, but they could definitely win the war. I'll just colour in these Tanzanian islands. Right. So going out from this region, the Nigerians are able to push into this region, and this is basically all just desert, right? But another place where this war is definitely bustling is that we see that the Sudan did not stand a chance. It's surrounded by number 2 and number 4, tied 4, and well, the north of this is easily taken with with the interior being so divided, and just like basically the country being run by gangs and warfare. It's not looking good for Sudan, and actually, I'm just gonna say that they surrendered at this point because there is no way that they could have done any more. But actually, what this does do is that it pulls troops from this front line, the EAC front line, to Sudan. So we actually see around this kind of what you call it's like Uganda, Kenyan kind of front, and even in Somalia, we see it going really well. And also a lot of East African, because EAC stands for East African Confederation, so a lot of East African troops go from here down, not down, up to Nigeria, where we see them supporting and being able to completely remove any Mauritanian troops from their land, and even pushing out quite substantially. Well, it's another story in Gabon, where Mauritania, remember, is a very, very, very capable country in Africa, allowing for them to even threaten the capital city of Gabon, and not siege it or anything, but just threaten it. But at this point, Nigeria, they've taken this. So this is Mauritania here, and this is the kind of Mali region, right? So they've taken Mali's old capital city. They're also taking the surrounding major cities around here, while Mauritania is able to take 2 of the, what do you call it, like the Gabonian cities here. Well, back into Tunisia, Tunisia and Algeria are having a bit of an idea where this bit will focus on Libya. This bit, nope, if I can do this properly. This bit of like Algeria is going to focus fully on Morocco, which obviously is a losing battle, but if they can just hold off there and wait for Libya and Tripoli to be taken, and then they can focus on Morocco again, hoping that Egypt will be sending a lot of its troops down to here to help out in the EAC front, which we see actually does progress quite well. Why do they have 2 capital cities? I don't even think they don't even have a proper capital city. I don't think their capital city is this one here. I remember it's that one. I'm just gonna re-show these because it might show some confusion to the viewers. So this are major cities, and this here is a capital city, right? So the EAC's idea is that if we can get to their capital, before these guys take Algiers, we have easily won the war. And if they take it slightly before, it'll be fine, as long as Nigeria can keep its foothold in Mauritania, which is what it does, pushing even into Chad and quickly taking its capital city, being the second capital city to be taken, and using its military to do some incursions into the Central African Republic, frightening its capital city while taking another capital city, another Central African Republic capital city, and threatening the rest of Chad's this major cities as well. So almost making it that they are going to surrender anytime soon, as they take the last one here, where the rest of that's pretty much Saharan desert. So Chad surrenders. Seeing this, it's not looking good for Central African Republic, which actually it gets encapsulated by the Nigerian forces, allowing it to use a lot of its forces instead of pushing here to push them away from the capital here in the more north regions, while letting them encircle them. But a lot of Ethiopian troops actually come here and actually break the encirclement of the CAR's capital and even push it back as far as here, because they know if they will lose that, it gives a if they lose the CAR, it allows Nigeria to on its own push through them and Cameroon into South Sudan, which means that they really need to keep this strong, and they're actually pushing back into Chad, liberating a couple of their major cities. But while this is happening, they move a lot of their military from here, which allows them to use the Somali coast to their advantage, as the EAC is one of the most advanced navies in the world. Naval wise, Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, and the EAC have a masterclass navies. Well, actually, the other powers, as Ethiopia and Mauritania, actually are lacking in their naval, which you can see are 2 blue team countries, which is allowing the red team to win most, if not all, naval battles. Well, not all, but a lot of. I'll say that probably about 80% of them. The EAC is using this advantage to use the Somali coast to their advantage, really, to take the old Somaliland capital back in episode 1, which you should definitely watch. It's not called episode 1. It's called what if East Africa formed an empire? Tried to form an empire, and they're actually trying to use this Somaliland area and Somalia to try and make a gateway straight to the capital here. But over here in the Libyan front, we see that Egypt starts to realize that one of the powers are here, and they're basically surrounded. Right, these two, Algeria being the power, they're surrounded by two of the strongest countries. So they need to start thinking more strategical about later on in the war, and they start using their navies, because these two have got really good navies. They all have really good navies, but these two are the only two that I mentioned that actually have really good navies on the blue team. So Egypt use theirs and they attack and they land right here in Tunisia. And with the mayhem in here, Libya are able to clean up the rest of this land, and also there's a lot of like kind of desert fighters to just take out this kind of region. I'll show you, because this is actually properly under blue team land, because they are cutting off any sort of like supply chains through here, because like yes it's a Saharan desert, but it's like kind of the air ones, like, so they have air superiority over this, is what I should probably say, like, because imagine if Nigeria is trying to ship out like, say, like a couple thousand, like no, a couple, like maybe like 5 cargo planes of like food over to Algeria. They can't do that because Morocco, Mauritania, and Libya all have like air superiority over this area, which is why I can't really show they've got like land superiority, because it's just pure desert. So I'm just going off of air superiority for like the Saharan desert area. Well, using this land here, because this is not proper desert now, so I'm going to show off the land. So Morocco, using their great like military equipped with sand like technology, like, you know, to traverse the sand, they are able to take a major city here and take another one right near Algiers. But using all this military comes at a cost, because Egypt and Morocco, yes, are brilliant militaries, but they don't have the population numbers as Algeria does, which Algeria is properly equipped with good military as well. So they're not to one to be laughed at, as they're able to push back there, and they're also able to push into Morocco slightly, and even go onto its Spanish colony. The Spanish colony or Spanish area, their only major city is Tucson, and the whole of the Spanish area is being taken, while they're able to push near the Moroccan capital. Well, in this region, they send aid to Tunisia, allowing them to push back Libya slightly. In the Nigerian front between them and Mauritania, again, Gabon is not one of the strongest countries, so Mauritania actually does overrun them quite easily. With Gabon nearly being fully overrun, at this point it's literally just our militaries keeping it up. So, but then the people in these regions are not wanting to have like war on their land, so they kind of just say, well, we will try and make our own. We will go make our own country, unless we surrender. So you'll surrender, right? Ghana, seeing this, then goes, hang on a minute. So we've got Mauritanians on our territory, so they do begin to push back. They are, because remember this is like surrendered land, so they free these major cities here slightly, but this is all they're able to do, pushing back the Mauritanians, as the Mauritanians are able to push back into the cities where the cities might have got what they wanted, but they still are fought over. Well, back in the CAR, you see that they've gone fully, and they've doubled down on this, repelling the Nigerian forces here, pushing them right back to the front lines, and even trying to push it to the capital, as nearly all the whole of Dakar and southern Chad has been liberated. Only North Chad and these regions of Car are still left invaded. While in these regions, as they've gone full out in there, as I said, they're able to push into a couple of the major cities, Ethiopian major cities, and they've made good advancements in the Somalian front, taking another two major cities and thickening it out here. Well, it might look very easy, but this is where the most where the most bloodshed is. Well, these two places might look like they're touching, and why aren't they just going after each other? They're not really. There's first of all, it's like a desert, and second of all, it's like surrendered land, so they're not gonna fight over it. So it's like they both surrendered fully. They're getting liberated here, but they're both surrendered, so there's no point in trying to go into traverse into here or them trying to go into there or whatever. Well, in Nigeria, what they do is in this country here is if they basically said in part one where you should watch, they said, "Oh no, we're not gonna. How about you give us our independence still, but not independence, but because they had a war, and in the peace treaty they were allowed to stay, but they either have to go pro-Nigerian or neutral. They say neutral, but then Nigeria has just said that, oh, you're going to join the war, and you're like, no, no, no. The treaty was, I don't join the war. Well, they forced him to join the war, and then we see here that added with this, they force him to, how do they get the government, and they kill a lot of their politicians, but they staged them as natural accidents, and they only kill the pacifist ones, the ones who wouldn't mind going to war. They leave them alone, and they use propaganda saying that, oh, the Mauritanians are gonna come, we're losing the war, we need an extra fight. So it works really well, and they rallied up the entirety of this country with the country that had literally just invaded them maybe 10 years ago at the late. No, I'll say 5 years ago. It wasn't long ago. But they rallied up arm in arm against this with pure propaganda and corruption. Another part that Nigeria is seeing success in is pushing back at the Ethiopians and Chad and the CAR, as this has actually become a full battleground of probably very minimal Chads and Central African Republicans, and it's become purely Nigerians and Ethiopians fighting this war, while the Western Sudanians are actually making their push into these regions, which are not these weren't the surrendered lands. It was kind of just like this kind of land here. It was this lands that kept fighting this stuff. So they're pushing back into these regions, trying to alleviate them. It's like the only thing that they've been doing, because they are a very weak country. Remember I said that Algeria was pushing near Morocco, but how is it so easy? Like, this shouldn't be that easy for them. Remember, Morocco's ranked number 3 in Africa, and these guys are ranked tied 5th. So how is this happening? Well, they're aiding up over here. They thought that they were getting given by the grace of God this. What was happening is they were actually mustering a large army, and here in the sand front, to Algiers, and as soon as the Algerians got on the gates, took not Gibraltar, but took like the kind of Moroccan kind of fake version of Gibraltar. They encapsulated them. Basically, they came on this side, they cut them down, and they're going now down the western part of Morocco, taking 2 major cities while doing it. But then this large force comes outside of Algiers, and you might think, oh, this is so easy for them, and they take Algiers, forcing Algeria to really dig deep, and they do take the Moroccan capital, leaving them with nothing. But Tunisia as well, it's not looking good for them, as most of their aid was coming from Algeria. So they're kind of what they're doing here is that they're both trying to wear each other country out with taking more and more coastal land from them, hoping that one of them will just give in, and then they'll try to sign something where they'll both have a bit of a ceasefire. They'll both go back to their kind of lands, but it doesn't happen. They both really wear each other out. These islands are Moroccan, by the way. They both wear each other out. Even them coming down as far as the Western Sahara, Morocco does not give in, and they've actually taken all but two major cities on both sides. I think this is two down here, yeah. But they keep fighting, and Tunisia is getting pushed on and pushed on every single day until they do have a ceasefire. They think, okay, so hang on, so we're both in really just each other's lands, so they have a bit of like a treaty here where these guys, they go back, and well, these guys will push out of these regions. I'll show you. So they came out of these regions of Algeria, while they're also given back the capital. So there's a 2-month ceasefire between Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia, Libya as well. So these 4 countries all have a ceasefire between each other for 2 months. Well, back down here in the Gabonian front, you see the whole of Gabon falls again, and the fight is right on Ghana's doorstep, and 2 of Ghana's major cities are taken really immediately, as they're right on the capital here. And Mauritania believe that if they can take out Ghana, take out this country here, I'll call it Greater Togo, then they'll have a good fight. They'll have a good fight against trying to take Lagos. As you see here, they even go into these regions of this country, and well, these guys are bordering. It's quite weird, so they actually pull out of these regions here, but instead refocus their army into this spearhead almost. And it's a very, 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 very large spearhead, but it was working, and they even pull out of these major cities down here, right? Almost allowing them this. Little do they know that this spearhead is aimed at the capital, not at the coast, not to try to take the coastal cities in the southwest of the country, but the capital. As you see here, it's coming right up and close to the capital, but they actually divert over to these cities here, these kind of coastal cities here, which, yes, I know it wasn't going to the coastal cities, but they divert there because they know that Mauritania is a very capable country, so they're not going to be able to do that. And the reason why I wanted to get to the coast of the is because now they can supply them through the coast, as they have a very, very, very good navy. And they also want to cut back into Gabon, as then if they could enclose, as now this area now is enclosed, and it's like it's different from the actual mainland Mauritania, as Mauritania now, this region of it, north part, is one, and then you have like these taken lands here, as they usher Ghana to try push back Gabon, but their capital was just taken, as Nigerian troops actually use a lot of troops to push back into these regions, cutting this off and retaking it. As remember, Nigeria is number 4, but just slightly behind Morocco by like very, very, very little. But what we see happening here is, remember, in the EAC, like, this is basically just Nigerian troops. The EAC, Ethiopia, is having logistical mistake after logistical mistake after logistical mistake. They keep cutting their lines short. They keep thinking that battalions are somewhere or they're not. Like, it's really the government to blame and it's looking like there's going to be like a double pincer move to the capital, which is exactly what's happening. We see that the capitals they're right close and up to the capital, and then the Somalian front they're right up and close to the capital. Seeing that they could actually, if they go around it with both fronts meeting up, they would encapsulate it from the rest of the country. Mm. Oops. Oh, yeah, that was fine. Taking it and moving to Djibouti as they take the rest of this area and even going up into Eritrea. As Eritrea, they really oppressed Eritrea, the Ethiopians. So they basically just open them with welcoming arms. Like they don't care that they're getting invaded because they don't shoot anyone in Eritrea. It's very, very, very seldom that you see this. You only see other countries fighting in Eritrea. If it's actual Eritreans, they won't be fighting them. As they like the Eritreans, they don't want Eritrea. They don't want um the Ethiopians. They like the East Africans. As we see here, they start to enclose on the capital, and you see the capital is cut off of everything. You know, it's not looking good for them. And Ethiopia does the bold decision to surrender. And with that, we see that the CAR front is going very backward now. As the CAR take they take the capital again. Chad falls back again, and they push into Sudan as there's not much that Sudan could do. And a couple weeks later, after Ethiopia surrenders, as a couple of their major cities are taken, they realise that they're going to have to surrender. And now we see that actually the south of Sudan, this region's with including the capital city, are actually reclaimed by the red team, and Sudan is kind of like remade. The reason why I've done it with a pencil is because to show you that these regions were kind of being done by Ethiopia, and these regions were being done by Egypt. But the weird thing about the CAR is that they're not giving up. They will not give up. Is what they kind of have. They take major city after major city, but they keep fighting and they keep fighting, and it doesn't matter how bad it's getting for them, but they'll keep fighting, they'll keep fighting, they'll keep fighting. Even once a whole country is left to just this, they keep fighting. They keep fighting, and even when they're fully captured, there's guerrilla war within, and even their motivation spills onto these other countries as well, which is why they need to use a lot of troops actually just to be stationed in these regions, just to keep to keep the peace in like these regions. And I'll point out to you where. So from the Chad capital to here, around here, and it's basically owned the capital in like South Sudan and Ethiopia. So like this region here. Why not Somalia and all that? It's because Somalia doesn't have the deep connection to Ethiopia and the deep hatred for the EAC, because they were also invaded. They weren't like they're not patriotic in the same sense. But the two fronts that they're winning in, I would say, are Sudan and Algeria. As Morocco, once they got back their capital, they immediately started to fight back, and pushing back and breaking the encampment of the capital, and pushing them back, pushing the red team hold out to this city here, where they're able to push back out a tiny bit, move out from here, take refuge in Portugal, where then they're actually sent to Morocco, because as we know, Morocco, this is British Portugal, and they're allied with Morocco, so they just sent them to Morocco, and now there's loads of POWs from this. It's almost like Dunkirk if it went really bad, and they just sent them all back to Germany. And they're able to push back here and take back the vast majority of the kind of Spanish enclave. Morocco was able to push them back straight back to the border, and this is, remember, this is like after the 2 month ceasefire, and Algiers is right threatened, and as it's being threatened, they cut on here. They also make another cut here, but they're not successful. Algeria is actually able to push this one back, but I mean, with Tunisia falling, it's only a matter of time when there's no need to cut for the middle of it. It's already here. As the West capitulates, and with the West capitulates, the Spanish goes back to the Moroccan lands, and Algeria, while holding out well, nope, doesn't become a part of Morocco. While holding out well, is captured. And with this, actually, most countries are actually seeing that this war is probably not going to get anywhere, other than one place where, while this whole thing's been going on, the whole of Mauritania is basically fell, the southern part, and they've been able to push back, and here and also in Gabon, where they are fully liberated, right from north to south, and also in the north it's not looking very good for them, as Nigeria is using a lot. What just happened? They're using a lot of their troops to take the capital, where at this point where the capital is so under threat and there's no more major threats to try and even back them up, they also surrender. And with this happening, they both kind of see that, well, the north went blue, the south went red, let's just meet together to have a peace treaty. Right. And this will be the first time that a peace treaty in Africa won't be in Africa, because it's like that either you have it in like Cape Town or like Victoria, or you have it somewhere else. So this will be the Treaty of New York. So we see actually in the north, Egypt getting very little land, but them doing lots, so they do take a lot of war reparations off of country, just because they should have got more land, but they just couldn't have gotten that much more. But we see Libya getting loads of land, and Morocco, because it's loads of desert, and also Chad and the other country here, they weren't strong enough on their own, so they would have had to come here because they just weren't stable enough. And Nigeria getting a field day as well, and all day as well. You see there's a lot less countries in Africa, but a lot more strong ones. The last thing I have to say today is South Africa. They give two ultimatums to Eswatini and Lesotho, where they give in and they come under the rule of South Africa, which is now a definite dictatorship. Right. That does it for me today. Okay. Oh no, wait. Last thing. I'll show you the alliance map now, because this is going to change a lot, because there's going to be a lot more alliances and the countries are going to look a lot bigger. Okay. So I'll show you this in 2 secs. Right. So this is what the alliance map is looking like now, with a quite large pink team alliance, and then with the red team alliance gaining both Nigeria, Cameroon, and Sudan. Other notable things is to see that Turkey has also joined the pink team alliance with Egypt, because they see that if we can keep North Africa like Turkish almost, or like Egyptian, then that will help them in the long run, because they see that there's going to be a war sometime soon, and they want to be ready and prepared. Right. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.